area neighborhood, aka AB. You know, I encourage you to go to God with your problems. I'm a witness right here, and I think a lot of people know. Like, don't tell nobody. You know, don't go to people. You know why? Because first off, God, that problems and stuff like that. Unless it's like, because a lot of times we talking to people about problems that they can't really do nothing about anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, besides just give you some emotional support, maybe a little finance. You know what I mean? So that's like me personally. Like, when I talk to people about my problems, and what it regards to how it ended, I ain't tripping. You know what I mean? That's why I say I'm thankful for whatever. It's because listen, one thing I realized when you tell people your problems, listen, that's the picture they gonna paint you in. And whatever perception they looking at, you know what I'm saying? And it's coming from their perception too. So you tell somebody you was in the streets, well, they gonna think you still doing that. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like you gotta be, the way the world works is they gotta box you in the category. Oh, you one of them dudes, you one of them girls. You get what I'm saying? Me personally, I and God too. I take God. I try not to. I don't care what mistake you done, or what you're into and all that. I'm not gonna label you that unless like your time's up, and I look at your body of work, right? And that's pretty much what you did. Then that's pretty much what you is. You get what I'm saying? But like I look at it like this: if I'm driving down Broadway, I could be driving down Broadway for 10 years, but if I make a left and turn on Bangkok, you know what I'm saying? or if I make a right and I turn on, Rosemary, you know what I'm saying? Or Martin Luther King. I might, you know what I'm saying? Okay, am I still a Broadway boy or a Broadway girl? You get what I mean? And that's the way I look at it. And I just like, as long as you don't go back to Broadway, you know what I mean? And stay on Broadway. Then, I ain't gonna label you a Broadway boy or a Broadway girl. But that's the way the world works though. They're always looking for, okay, what category can I, what is he and what is she and what is, what I'm saying? That's why they always want to find out information, because it's all about identifying you as something instead of just looking at you like a human being. You get what I'm saying? So it's all about, like, not as a whole. This ain't negative. I'm saying this is what some of this stuff is going on. If you ever wonder, I hope it makes sense. You know what I mean? I pray that it opens your eyes. It helps you. I know it helped me out if I would have known this. You know what I'm saying? So, but you wonder why people do this. Well, because the world is taught to like dehumanize you, basically. You know what I'm saying? And categorize you.